Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to do a little bitching because it seems appropriate right about now, right? Just to bitch about everything. At least that's what it seems like here on YouTube. So why not go ahead and join in on the bitch fest? You know, about a year, maybe a year and a half, I don't even remember anymore at this point. I made a video saying that everybody out there who collects toys, action figures, or really even whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what you collect, you should do everything you can to find enjoyment in your collection, up to and including not listening to people online that obviously have a bias. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Buy what makes you happy. That's the point of this. That's the point of, as far as I'm concerned, doing YouTube videos and talking about stuff on live chats is to just have fun and enjoy your hobby. And I made that video and I said, hey, don't listen to people on YouTube who seem to be biased and have an agenda, whether that be they're getting something out of companies for saying certain things, or just by saying certain things they create drama that gives their channel clout or views or whatever it is. You know, watch all the people that you want to watch, but take everything with a grain of salt, because not everybody on YouTube has your best interest at heart. A lot of them, they've got their own interests at heart, and sometimes doing that means they trash something you love or try and convince you to buy things you don't really care about. And look, hey, that's capitalism, that's advertising, I get it, whatever. But just take what you hear on the internet, including everything I say, with a grain of salt. And when I made that video, I triggered a lot of people. One particular YouTuber got really butthurt and triggered and left 15 or 20 comments on my video. It was funny and hilarious. And anyway, we're not going to get into that, but it was, I found it quite entertaining that somebody got that butthurt by a little channel like mine saying, don't let other people take the enjoyment away from your hobby. And people apparently took that a little too personal. So today, we're just going to get a little bit more personal, because today I want to talk about Michael over at RetroBlasting. A lot of people call him Retrobitching, and to be honest, I certainly get that, because I watched Michael's channel for years before I ever started making my own YouTube videos. I loved his channel. He was one of my favorite channels. You know, he did lots of cool retrospectives on older toys and toy lines and stuff like that. It was really cool. And there's a handful of channels that do that in a really big, cool way that I really enjoy. His was one of them. And then something happened, I don't know, in the last few years. His channel just became all about bitching all the time. Bitching about, I don't know, HasLabs, or bitching about certain companies, or bitching about, you know, Kickstarters, or bitching about independent companies, or bitching about people who bitch about independent companies, or bitching about his own viewers, or bitching about people on Facebook, or whatever it is. His whole channel, pretty much every video became about complaining about something and trashing people for their opinions, or trashing toys that other people might like, or whatever it is. And it just got really hard to watch. And, you know, more power to him, you do you. But it's just not a channel I really enjoy watching anymore. No disrespect or anything like that. If you like watching his channel, awesome. I do not discourage anybody from watching RetroBlasting. Go out and enjoy what you enjoy, because that's what's most important here. But he posted a video recently, of course he did, because of the new Star Wars Cantina playset HasLab. Now, I thought the video was funny and typical, and what we should all expect, which of course was, he starts the video off saying, everybody knows I don't like HasLabs, so I'm not going to bitch about that. But then he goes on to bitch about HasLabs, and everybody knows that Hasbro charges too much money and is ripping everybody off, and then, but I'm not going to talk about that. And then he goes and talks more about that. And I feel like he was like going through the motions. It's almost like you can see the wheels in his head turn, where it's like, okay, let's see, I can't bitch about HasLab again, and corporate greed, and you know, corporations crowdfunding, and I can't bitch about price anymore. What can I bitch about now? Oh, I know, the Cantina's not good enough. Wait, what? The Cantina playset is not good enough, so let me do a 20-minute video on why the Cantina playset isn't good enough, while also going back to the well to sprinkle in how you don't like HasLab or prices anymore from time to time. Throughout that 20-minute video, the Cantina playset is not good enough. Now let's understand this for just a minute here. The Cantina location in Star Wars, I would say, is arguably, and in fact, I wouldn't even say arguably, I would say definitively, is the most famous location in all of Star Wars. It was in the very first movie. There are people who, for whatever ridiculous reason or another, have never seen Star Wars, but can describe the Star Wars Cantina scene and know that music. The Star Wars Cantina is one of the most sought-after playsets, whether they be playsets that have been officially released in the past or ones that people make on their own. I just did a search here to show you guys some stuff. When you type in Star Wars Cantina Custom, you just get all kinds, pages and pages and pages of stuff that people have made on their own. When you type in Star Wars Cantina Cardboard, you get the same thing, pages and pages of stuff where people go and spend their own time and money and all this stuff to build these Cantina playsets. Star Wars Cantina 3D prints, same thing. There are tons of these out there. Why? Because it's ridiculously popular. Now maybe RetroBlasting doesn't like it. That's cool. He goes on in the video to talk about how it's just not a kinetic playset. Nothing significant happens there. Oh, minus we meet Han Solo. Never mind the whole Han shot first Greedo thing. Obi-Wan cutting off the arm. Never mind how many characters from that scene became so popular. Not only did they get their own action figures, but then later on, there are characters who literally had no dialogue in that scene that may have just been on screen for 5 seconds, that went on and had books and stories and comic books written about them later. That's how big this particular scene was. But of course, Michael, nobody cares about the Cantina scene. And then of course you go to eBay and just look at the Cantina stuff that's out there. People building their own stuff, old play sets, all this kind of stuff. Look, the Cantina is an incredibly popular, and I would personally say the definitively most popular location, visually, the most remembered location in Star Wars history by fans and just casual viewers alike, period, pretty much across the board. I mean, look at all this stuff on eBay. I just clicked on the first few things I saw on the page. These things are everywhere. And so now we've got a Cantina playset. Now, let me make one thing really clear. I have never, ever backed a HasLab. Probably never will. I've never backed any crowdfunding item, period, end of story. Maybe someday I will. I don't know. We'll see. But at this point, I haven't. And I can tell you definitively right now, there's no way I would buy this thing, okay? It doesn't fit into my collection. It's not something I want. So I am not saying this because I have any vested interest in this thing. I'm not buying it, okay? It's too much money and it's not even something that I really want. However, if you want it, that's awesome. If this thing will make you happy, and if this thing is something you can afford, and this thing can put a smile on your face when you see it, when you walk into your collection room, dude, that's awesome, and that is all that matters, okay? Period, end of story, okay? I mean, in the video, Michael goes on to talk about how, oh, nothing happens in this cantina, nothing significant, it's not an action scene, it's not this, it's not that. Well, dude, nothing happens in the Batcave either, yet I don't hear you bitching every time Mattel releases a new Batcave, or when Kenner used to do it every time a new movie came out, and nothing ever happened in the Batcave. Were you bitching about that too? No, you weren't, because you were digging deep in the well to find something to bitch about with this playset, okay? That's what you're doing. You knew it's a HasLab, you know you don't like HasLab, you know you don't like Hasbro, so you had to find something to bitch about that wasn't just the same thing you've bitched about every other time, which is just corporate greed, too much money, corporate crowdfunding. You knew you couldn't say that again and again and again because people are tired of hearing it. So you had to find something else. You had to pull something else out of your ass, and this is what you came up with. Look, the Cantina is, again, definitively the most well-known, iconic location in Star Wars. It just is, okay? And a lot of people wanted this. I don't. Obviously, Michael doesn't. That's cool. There's a lot of people that don't want this, or can't afford it, or whatever it is, that aren't going to buy this. But there's a lot of people, I'd wager to guess at least 8,000, that are going to want this. And if you do, that is awesome. And the other thing about this whole Cantina thing, he goes on to complain that, oh, what are you going to do? Just have people standing around? Well, what are you going to do with anything else? That's what the displays are for. Like, that's literally what they're for. He's like, oh, we should do an Emperor's Throne Room for the Death Star too. Well, that's cool. So if you want to set that up, you can have a big-ass Emperor's Throne Room taking up a lot of space on your shelf, and you can put exactly 3 figures in there. Luke, Vader, and the Emperor. Are you going to spend $500 on that to have a display that really only works with 3 of your figures? Or are you going to spend $500? Again, not that I would, but are you going to spend $500 on something that you could put a ton of figures inside of? Because they all work in the Cantina playset environment, okay? This is, again, just pulling shit out of your ass to bitch about. And this is why I make this type of video, and why I made that video so long ago, is because there are people out there like this that are trying to get you to feel bad for wanting something that's gonna put a smile on your face. And that's absolutely ridiculous. This is so stupid. If you want it, get it. Nobody's forcing you to buy it, okay? Nobody's forcing you or Michael or me or anybody to buy this thing. If it's gonna make you happy and you have the money to buy it, awesome, dude. And I look forward to seeing your videos on it on YouTube and your pictures over on Instagram and Facebook, because I think the thing's cool. It's just not for me, but it might be for you, right? That's the beauty of this. They're putting it out there. If you want it, cool. If you don't, walk away. Walk away. But no, Michael just has to bitch, because that has become the entire point of his channel now, is just to bitch about everything. No longer can I go to RetroBlasting's channel and look up cool retrospectives on, old toy lines, whether that be Star Wars or, I don't know, Masters of the Universe or, Visionaries or whatever it is, like I used to be able to see on his channel. No. I can't do that anymore. I have to go to other channels for that. So what? Oh well, I can walk away. But then you just want to make other people feel bad for the stuff they want? It's just pathetic and petty. But what you don't understand is you're making people feel bad for wanting a thing, and you're encouraging other people out there in your audience to go out there and then go onto Facebook and talk shit to other people on their Star Wars, Facebook pages and groups and all that stuff, who are excited for this. But when it comes right down to it, stop listening to these people, okay? RetroBlasting is just bitching to bitch. He just wants to create the drama. He hates Hasbro, he hates HasLabs, and he had to find something to complain about on this HasLab, so he did. So what did he come up with? The Cantina's not good enough. Okay. All right there, Boomer. Chill, relax, and how about take a step back, because a lot of people don't think that it's not good enough. A lot of people do want this. Why don't we just leave them alone? And when you get into a point where your channel has become known as Retrobitching, maybe there's a problem, and maybe that should be a clue to everybody else out there that this is probably not the best person to take advice from.